Hello.
Welcome back.
Welcome.
What are we going to talk about today? Have you seen the girl on Instagram?
No.
It's really sweet. Her dad passed away and he left her a ton of records.
What's
I'll show
this?
you. I'm
Okay.
explaining. So a bunch of records like this. She got a giant wall,
Okay.
and she pulls one at random and
Got
just
it.
listens to it and explains. But she always goes, "What are we gonna listen to today?" It's like kind of iconic. So
Okay.
I'm ripping her off.
Do you really think it's real that her
Yeah,
dad left her
and it's
those
cool
records?
because she's Canadian, so there's all these like niche like Canadian artists
Okay.
that are like it's interesting. It's like everything from like the Velvet Underground to like weird like you
Do
know
you imagine?
schmaltz.
Do you imagine our children doing that after you leave?
They better. I want to Insta. She's like blowing up, man. She's got a lot of Instagram followers, so you're
It's all.
welcome.
It's all a bunch of yous.
You're welcome,
It's
kids.
all a bunch of yous who are like, oh yeah, what's that
This
record?
isn't just monetary. You can get
Oh, Tom Johnson
internet
produced that in
fame.
1978. Holy
Exactly.
fuck.
That's what we're here to talk about. Tom Johnson.
Okay, well, what are we actually
What
here
are
to talk
we
about?
actually going to talk about?
You also have to know that some people are not watching this; they're listening to it, and they're not going to notice that you're doing a hand motion.
I made hand motions.
You made hand motions, and that's what made me laugh.
That's
Okay.
true. We're going to talk about
Title of this episode
Filthy
is
Lucre,
Filthy Lucre.
the Sex Pistols live album.
Okay.
But it's also an old-timey way to say like dirty money. or,
Dirty
like,
money.
Because a lot of us talk about money like or we don't like talking about money.
Mm.
We don't like talking about it with clients, our bosses,
Our spouses,
our spouses,
partners,
anybody.
anybody. We don't even like to think about it with ourselves.
But the only
Let's be
reason
honest.
we're afraid of talking about it is because of our own head. It's
Oh,
all
that's what I
thoughts
meant.
going in our own head that are like creating this fear of talking about money and asking for it. You know, I think about like I work in the corporate world, and it's like when you're doing a good job and you feel like you've outgrown your role, you ask for a raise, hopefully. But when sometimes, especially with hairdressers, they're their own boss and they won't even ask themselves for a raise. They won't even give themselves a raise.
No.
And why do you think that is?
I mean, I think it really does go into, I think a lot of people think of money as being like this monster. I actually was in a class one time, and if you want to, we'll do this exercise kind of quickly. But if you close your eyes and you envision a physical persona of what money is, right? Like, what is the physical representation of what money is? And, what does it look like? How does it make you feel? What is their like, body positioning towards you, etc. And in this class, everybody started to like, explain what this like physical representation is. And so many people were like, it's a monster. It's like kind of like slithering. It's like grabbing. It's like grabbing your feet, holding you down. A lot of people, like for me, I was like, oh, it's the mean girl who's just like, I'm friends with you 1 minute and then I'm not friends with you again.
Yeah.
Right? Like this like fickle friend, this kind of thing. And the whole idea of this class is to understand like this is how you are thinking money is. Therefore, you're going to treat it as such. And realizing that money is just a form of energy.
It's a tool.
It is just a tool. It is just a part of life. And it's also an inanimate object.
Our
It
kids
is
don't even
also-
understand money. They like, if we give them cash, they're like, how can I get Robux with this? Like, how can I spend money on
I
my
know one
video
time I
game?
asked him, I was like, do you want cash or do you want me to just like get you Robux or whatever? And he was like, I want cash. And I'm like, okay. And I give him the cash and he's like, can I get Robux? Like he just like handed it right back to me. I'm like, oh, you don't understand.
Yeah, they don't. Money
But-
is just in
But
the
it's
ether.
it's also neither good or bad. It's I think a lot of some people grow up thinking that money is evil. And so then of course if you have a hard relationship with money and now you are your own business and you're having to actually handle the money, it's a little bit different with when you have like a corporate job because you don't have that much of a personal relationship with it. You know what I mean? Like you just get your paycheck and end of story. I mean, there still is a lot to that, but having your own business, everything's coming in, everything's going out of your bank account, and it triggers up all the feelings that we think money is, and therefore, when it goes time to raise our prices, allow your stylist to raise their prices, that instinctive, whatever fears that are gripping you, they just come out and they grab a hold and you're like, I can't.
Because the problem is you're going to have conversations. Because if you raise your prices, there are going to be people that are upset about it. Or people that are like, are you sure you can't just keep me at your old rate and this and that and that?
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is when you do raise your prices, the goal is to get rid of some of those people. Joy, you always
Sure.
say like some people aren't coming to you because you don't charge enough.
Yes.
And so like for me, I don't know anything about windshield wipers. So when I know I need windshield wipers. I go to AutoZone. What do? I go, well, these are $20. They're probably bad, right? These ones are $50. I live in California. It doesn't really rain that much. I don't need those. So at least they're $25. I'll go with the one in the middle, right?
Okay.
And I think that a lot of people do that at salons too. They
Mm-hmm.
go, well, the cheapest one's probably not as good, right?
Okay. I'm like,
Just
where are
this
we
is just a perception. This is just a perception that
Okay.
people have, I think.
Okay.
The most expensive one might be the best, but that might be too much. So I want to go to the one in the middle. So what
Okay.
I'm saying is it's people have perceptions of money
Mm-hmm.
that that's worth more. Like sometimes you get new clients, you're the most expensive one, and you get new clients,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, weird, I got a new client, but it's probably just because you're the most expensive, so people think you're the best.
I am the best.
So some people are not going. No, but that's what I'm saying. Some people are not going to certain stylists because they don't charge enough, because they see them and they go, oh, that's kind of.
Oh, okay. So what you're saying is, because I went from talking about, our perception around money, of like how we feel about money, it's this monster, is it a friend, etc.
Hmm.
And what you're saying is that instead of, gosh, honestly, I kind of lost it. I've lost our train.
Really?
Yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
Sid.
Sorry, I might have jumped a little too
I think
much, but I was saying the
I know
perception
because then,
of
then you
the.
started talking about windshield wipers, and I was just like,
Oh, okay.
I don't know how we got here. I'm so sorry.
Sorry. Well, let's stop and then
Sid.
she said just keep going. Yeah.
Well, where do we pick back up? Like I'm like trying to think of like where we lost. Yeah. I thought we were on the train because I thought we were talking about like being okay with raising your price and having first of all having a good relationship with money first.
I was trying to go with the client perspective of saying like some people aren't going. You think you're losing clients by raising your prices, but you might actually. We've had stylists raise their prices and gain clients.
Right. So that is different than talking about the windshield wipers and like that kind of you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was saying I get the middle of the road windshield wipers because I don't want to buy the cheapest ones because they're probably bad. That's
I
the
understand,
perception.
but then because all I'm thinking is that someone's going like, "Oh, I'm the cheapest in the salon. That's why nobody's picking." Like,
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
All right.
I don't feel like it's good to compare that. I think it just should be that people are going to choose. If you want to talk about people choosing stylists, people are going to choose what's best for them, regardless
Right.
of what you charge. So, but I think it's first. We're talking to hairdressers and salon owners and at least on my end, I'm hoping that they change their perception of money, that it's not a monster, that it is a friend,
Mm-hmm.
and that now that it's a friend, you can rely on it. It's always going to be there for you. And now with that, you can raise your prices confidently,
Yep.
knowing that there's going to be people at every level of socioeconomic level that will be there to choose you.
Right.
That's where I thought we were going.
Okay, that's cool. No, I
Okay.
mean let's
And then
dive into
you
it.
can talk about
Windshield wipers?
how no. And then you can talk about how we had a stylist who was worried about raising prices, but she was ready. She raised her prices. She's actually gotten busier.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Okay. So then we're going back to
Perceptions of money.
perceptions of money. Okay. So I think that the most important thing to when we think about money is that instead of it being a monster, instead of it being this like fickle person who hates you, this, you know, if we go back to this representation, this physical representation of what money is, the goal is to think about money as actually being a loyal friend, someone we can rely on, someone who's always there for us, and somebody who, if like when we need them, they're there, they're not leaving us, they treat us good, we treat them good. And I think when we change that perception, when it comes time to raise our prices, when it comes time to invest or do something big,
Give money away.
you know, start donating to charity, then we can feel like we can rely on it.
Yeah, because you've talked about it before, how, you know, you have students that are working 6 days a week. They like barely have any time with their family, and they're worried about raising their prices because they're worried they're going to lose clients, right?
Right.
Lose something like, oh, well, I charge this much. But when you started, and it was scary for you too, but when you started raising your prices, you were like, I can work less, spend more time with my family. I mean, I remember the day you decided to stop working Saturdays
Oh my
was
gosh.
unbelievable, because you raised your prices enough to where you didn't have to work 5, 6 days a week.
Yes, and we'll talk about that on a different episode because there was a lot of other,
Sure.
you know, preconceptions that I had about Saturdays that just weren't true. So
Yeah,
we'll talk
but
about
it's
that
not
in a
just
different
about the
episode.
Saturdays, but just the fact that you were able to make a living or make the same amount of money in less time because you charged your worth,
Yeah.
was huge for us. And I think, you know, a lot of salon owners gatekeep, right? And don't let people, I mean, we've had so many stylists that come in and say, yeah, my salon owner didn't let me raise my prices or didn't let me set my own prices for what I wanted to make because
Right.
they didn't want me to make more than them.
Either that or the same feeling that a stylist is going to have raising their prices, which is I'm going to lose clients, is the same feeling that a salon owner has when the stylist wants to raise their prices. We're going to lose clients.
Right.
And we've been conditioned that regardless of how much that client is paying you, we need to have clients. We need to have people in the door, butts in the seats. We need to be busy,
Right.
whether that's the client. And that's why, you know, I sometimes will tell students or, you know, even my stylist, like, if I wanted to be that full, I would charge $20 for a haircut and I'd be packed.
Well, you see barbershops
Very
that still
packed.
or that still
Sure.
charge very little, but they're, you know,
Right,
their
because
volume.
if the goal is to be busy, then
You can get busy.
You can be busy.
Yeah.
But if the goal is to make money and have a life and feel good at the end of the day and not feel drained at the end of the day and not have to sit in your car, which we all hairdressers know this feeling of like sitting in your car and just only being able to doom scroll for like 45 minutes because you're just so emotionally and physically and energetically drained. You have to be getting the money back from that. So
And the same
the effort that
thing
you're putting
about
out there.
the mindset. I mean, it is difficult when you're imagine you know, you've had students in debt and they've got the money in their savings to pay off a portion of the debt, if not all of it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they don't realize that when they have the debt, they don't actually have the savings, and they're just
Yeah.
paying the credit card companies money
More
month to
interest,
month
right.
because they don't
Costs
want to.
more.
They just don't want to. I don't know. It's a
And again,
mindset thing,
it's because it's how are we perceiving money?
right?
If we, especially in hairdressing world, we're used to busy times, slow times. We're going in January. Oh, it's already January. So you're probably already feeling like not as busy. So that kicks in that survival part of our brain that says, I can't raise my prices. I can't make a move. I can't, I can't do anything different. Like, don't, because I'm going to scare the money away. The whole point of this episode is start looking at money like it's a friend. Start looking at it like it's a tool, that it is neither good or bad. It is something that is useful, and start positioning yourself to be like, how do I want to be, how do I want to feel around money? How do I become in control of my money? And how do I utilize it as a close friend and not, be scared of it like it's a creepy monster?
Well, even like growing up in the punk rock world, like, you're kind of taught to like hate the rich and like money and all this stuff, and it's like
Even though all those kids are like rich as hell.
true. Hey, man. No, but I think the idea is like, of course, you're thinking about rich, like, people that are exploiting other people and just taking their money. But
Right.
again, I think you've said before, you'll never be poor enough to help the poor.
Right.
And it's like the more money you have, the more you can give away, the more you
Right.
can, if you're using it for a good purpose as a tool, as a friend,
Yes.
then it becomes something that isn't necessarily scary or evil. It's something that can be used for good.
Yes.
And it's not something that we need to shy away from talking about. I mean, it used to be when we were poor and like barely making it, gave me anxiety to look at our bank accounts and to talk about it with you
Mm-hmm.
and to talk about like, you know,
Budgets.
budgets. Oh, you wanted me on a budget for so long and I resisted it because I was like, I didn't want to look at it.
I know.
And we ended up finally getting on a budget, and all of a sudden we're like, where did all this money come from? Like we started, saving money and
Yeah.
sign up for your
And we can
class.
talk about budgets and stuff,
Yeah.
what we've used in the past few years to help us along. But yeah, start, 2025 is your year to become friends with money, become friends with your own money, become friends with all the money in the world that's literally flying around you right now.
Yeah, money's less real than it's
Going
ever
from
been.
Venmo to Venmo account, flying through the air. So let's be friends with it and change our perception of it, and see how that changes your views around what you charge, what your stylists charge, and what is truly possible.
Ask yourself for a raise and grant it.
Goodbye. Do, 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 do. Burp.
Was that a train wreck? Okay.